Boy, did this game start in a rough place, but by the end of it, the Rangers were getting rowdy and putting some burgers on the grill after a massive win.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Patrick, a criminally addicted Texas Rangers fan, covered this team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on today's show, we're talking about the best comeback victory of the season, maybe the most needed. The big boys picking up a rough day from Nathan Eovaldi. And what is this roster going to look like when Evan Carter comes back? Because there are some big boys who need to keep some roster spots. Before we get into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. Now, this was the best win of the year for the Texas Rangers and probably the most needed. Heading into this game on a 4-game losing streak, several of those losses, actually really all of those losses, were very close until the bitter end and could have gone either way. But the Rangers, who were absolutely on fire out of the break in the second half, that really awful week on the West Coast in Anaheim and in Seattle, where they proceeded to lose both series, kind of set them back a little bit. But, coming back and winning those 2 games against the Yankees in comeback fashion nearly swept them. Really, probably should have swept them had the offense been working. And had the offense been working really at all this weekend against the Phillies, the Rangers may have taken 2 or maybe not all 3 games, but at least 1 of the games. But heading into this game, just 2.5 games back in the wild card, this team was pretty quickly falling out of it. Just an awful offensive weekend, granted, against a really great Phillies pitching staff. 2 of those 3 starters, I'd say, are 2 of the best starters in the National League, but getting just absolutely manhandled by Jesus Luzardo at this point in the season, just not a great look for this Rangers squad, who just needs every single win that they can muster. And, when you have your ace on the hill, that is usually when you say, okay, this is the time for a losing streak to stop. This is the time where you just shut these guys down, absolutely blow their doors off, and then go home and just keep building on it and make it a winning streak, not just a single win. Because this team is in need of winning streaks, not winning series, winning streaks. Long ones, and long ones at that. They need to just stack win on win on win on win. And when you are in a contention race like this, with so many teams right there, a 5-game losing streak, I don't care if it's all 1-run losses, they all count the same on the loss column. You cannot afford that. And when the Rangers went down 5-0 with their ace on the hill, I thought, oh, dear God, the rails are coming off. The wheels are coming off. They are over the rails. They are off of the cliff. They are spiraling out of control. And this offense that was just completely lackluster and non-existent, not just for this series against the Phillies, but the last 2 games of that Yankees series as well. This offense didn't do really much of anything, just a couple runs in both of those games as well. So not just that one series against a really good pitching staff, but a trend of 5 games in a row. 5 games where the Rangers only won one in that span and could have won all of them. But the big boys came through in this one. Down 5 runs, the Rangers rallied with 2 massive homers. One off the bat of Wyatt Langford, who had been in just a rough way. Literally just yesterday, I was talking about how Wyatt Langford has been in an awful way since the second half started. He had not homered in the second half. He had homered now once in his last 15 games, just 3 in his last 30. And over the last 7 games, he's still been getting on base. He cut down those strikeouts a little bit, but the power just was not there. I mean, last year he had 16 homers for the season. This year he headed in the break at 15. Now he got his career high tying 16th homer of the season. But it was a little worrisome because this is a guy who's incredibly strong, who has just been hitting the ball on the ground or just barely getting some line drives. And what was incredibly frustrating about this game is, and a trend that Evan Grant pointed out, go read his article about it in the Dallas Morning News or on dallasnews.com, talking about how this offense, normally the reason why starting pitchers in this day and age don't go as far into games, don't go and see the lineup a bunch of times through, is because usually most offenses should get better against a pitcher the more often they see them. If you would learn from what you saw in the first at bat, then you'd build on that in the second at bat. You're like, okay, I recognize what looks different from this guy's fastball versus his changeup, and I can tell what's coming out of the hand a little bit more easily, or what the breaking ball kind of looks like once he throws it, how much break it's got, and all that good stuff. Usually good hitters can do that, and so they will get better. And so you have to be a really good starting pitcher to be able to attack a lineup 3 or, Lord knows, very, very infrequently 4 times through. That's what's made Nathan Eovaldi so good in the past, is because his stuff is so darn good that he's got 4 exceptional pitches that he can throw in any count to anywhere to any hitter at any time of the game. That makes him so incredibly difficult to game plan for, and that's why he's such a rarity in this day and age. But the Ranger offense hadn't really done that. And what's really frustrating about Ryan Nelson, he's a guy who he has a really good fastball. It's a really very good four-seam fastball. It's kind of like Christian Javier's four-seam fastball, in that you may remember from that World Series run that you kind of got to swing over it. It's got that vertical life. It's kind of like Jack Leiter's fastball. I probably should have led with that, in that you swing it where you think it is, and then you're still underneath it because it almost looks like it's rising. And it's also got some natural cut action. It's sitting there in the upper 90s, and he throws this pitch about 60 or more % of the time. So he's really living and dying on that four-seam fastball. And the other stuff is not nearly as good, but he's living and dying with it so much that it's just frustrating because he can live with it in the middle of the zone. And that Wyatt Langford at bat, the Rangers were able to claw back and get a second run in this one, despite being down. At that point, they were down 6-1. And then with runners at the corners, Wyatt Langford comes up and he sees 7 straight four-seam fastballs. 7 straight. And you're like, okay, man. All right, you've already seen this guy. This is now the 3rd time you have seen this guy in this game. And I know it's a good four-seam fastball, but big league hitters, it doesn't matter how fast it is. It doesn't matter what pitch it is. You can't just live off of one pitch. I mean, first pitch, four-seam fastball, pretty much down the middle. Then Wyatt works himself into a full count and then fouls off a pitch, the 6th pitch of the at-bat, a four-seam fastball up and in, just touching the corner at 96.7. He hits the absolute tarnation out of the baseball into the 3rd deck, but just foul, just a little bit out ahead of it. And then pitch number 7, 95.8 mile an hour four-seam fastball. That one is touching the middle 3rd of the plate, still up and in a little bit, but Wyatt Langford gets the bat head out on it and absolutely destroys it. This was such a perfect at-bat by Wyatt Langford, working himself into a good count, a little bit passive on the first pitch of the at-bat, like he has been just for his entire career. I kind of want him to be just a little bit more aggressive on those first pitches, but still, the man can work a quality at bat. He got to work on that being too passive, but that was not the case in this one. Fouling off strikes, fouling off close pitches till he gets the one that he likes. He sees it enough and he drives it with authority, making it just a 1-run game at that point. Just a massive bit of hitting for Wyatt Langford, who overall has started to change that trend a little bit over the last couple of games. The last 15 games, he's walked 8 times and struck out just 13. He's got a .436 slugging percentage and a .381 on base. And in the last 7 games, he's got a .379 OBP. The slugging's still below 400, but he's walked more than he struck out in that time span. So, I mean, when Wyatt Langford gets on a heater, we've seen it. The guy can be absolutely as hot as anybody. He won the American League Player of the Month in September. We've seen he gets better as the season progresses. And I think for long stretches of this season, especially in May, in June, heck, even in July. Langford has just been so in his head, especially when Seager and Simeon were struggling mightily. I mean, Langford was on fire in the month of April, but those middle months, it felt like there was a lot of pressure on Langford to be the offense. Everybody was struggling. Wyatt Langford was the only one who was hot in that first month. And I think he put a lot of that internal pressure on himself to succeed. This is not a guy who is just loosey goosey relaxed. This is a guy who is wound incredibly tightly. And, he's got to figure out how to go through those slumps and pull out of them. And I think he's doing that in his second year. It's going to make him a better big leaguer. It's going to make him hopefully a great big leaguer and hopefully a guy with more incredible swings like this. But it wasn't just the skinny boy getting in on the action, driving in some clutch runs. It was a couple of big boys who ended up finishing this one off for the Rangers, guys who have not had the best seasons overall, but right now, getting hot at the right time could be just as important as anything. We're talking about all that and more right after this. The show is brought to you by OpenPhone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency, like a burst pipe. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait? No, you called the next one. That's why having a reliable business phone is so important, and that's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or computer. Did you juggle 2 lines to keep business and personal calls separate? OpenPhone solved that instantly. Your whole team can share one number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. No more, who's handling this? OpenPhone is offering Locked On Rangers listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonmlb. That's OPENPHONE.com/lockedonmlb. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone. No missed calls, no missed customers. The show is also brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. After last night, they've got not just football things to bet on, the Rangers to make the playoffs. The line right now, yes, is at plus 210 to make the playoffs. No, the favorite at minus 265 to miss the playoff to win the American League West. They are, wow, a bit of a long shot right now at plus 2,000. The no longer Oakland A's have been taken off the board. If you're feeling really good about a Miracle Angels comeback, they're at plus 30,000 to win the AL West right now. Astros favored minus 130. Seattle Mariners right there at minus 110. So you can go check out all the action today. Visit FanDuel app today. Start planning your future bets now because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Shout out to everyone making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, I'll be back, hopefully talking about a series win and a second straight win in a row, and hopefully a great day from Jack Leiter. We talk about all that and more on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Rangers. But this wasn't just a big Wyatt Langford day. This was a big day for the big boys, the big bald boys, my big beefy, beautiful bald boys, all the big B's, and Burger as well, and Rowdy Tellez. I'm just shoehorning them in there at this point. But what an incredible game. What an incredible swing by Rowdy Tellez. Man, if only I feel like I had seen this somewhere before. Not a Rowdy Tellez homer in a clutch situation. I have seen that before, and I do truly enjoy them. But facing the Diamondbacks in a game that the Rangers had Nathan Eovaldi on the hill, and he didn't have his best game, and the Rangers were down in the 9th inning, and they could tie it with one swing and a high drive. It's tied. Oh, wait. I have seen that before. Game 1 of that World Series. This was not quite as big a situation as Game 1 of the World Series, but man, did it feel like it after this weekend, after this 4-game losing streak. Rowdy Tellez with an incredible swing off of a young man who I swear I thought was 16 years old in Andrew Hoffman. He is not. He is actually 25 years old. The guy pitching in the eighth and ninth inning, I should say, of this game, asking him to go for a second inning in a very clutch situation, a 6-out save, I think it would have been at that point. Yeah, it would have been a 6-out save for the very young man who had done overall pretty well this year. But alas, it was not quite well enough. Rowdy Tellez homers and gets the Rangers tied because that homer by Wyatt Langford, although it was great, although it was 3 runs, and although the Rangers, did have 5 runs on the board, which equaled how much Nathan Eovaldi had given up on the day, they still needed just one more, and Rowdy Tellez comes up with a massive, massive swing. He was 0 for 3 to that point in the night, but he gets a changeup right down the middle of the plate, and I was watching it on game day before I saw it live on the screen, and I gasped. I was watching with my mom and my girlfriend. They're like, wait, do you know what happened? And I was just silent, watching as that majestic ball just landed perfectly in those outfield seats. Tie game, and I knew at that point, Rangers are not losing this one. There is no way they can come back down 6-1 and not end up finishing this one off. And they did, with a great pinch hit by Jake Burger, who was about 2, maybe 3 feet shy of a walk-off homer in this one. Ended up clanking off of that left field wall, just barely staying fair on a pitch that was just asking to be mashed for a walk-off homer. This was a tough at-bat by Jake Burger, coming in a pinch hitting situation against Andrew Saalfrank, who has been overall really good for the Diamondbacks this year. I mean, on the season, he has a .69 ERA, which is pretty nice, but he wasn't pitching nice in this one. I mean, the first pitch he throws is a 4-seam fastball at 89 miles an hour, right in the nitro zone for Jake Burger, who was runners at the corners because, to start that inning, I mean, the Rangers squandered a chance to walk it off in the 9th inning. They could have, very much could have done that after Adolis Garcia doubled right down the line immediately after that Rowdy Tellez leadoff game-tying homer, and then Josh Young struck out on a pitch that was well below the zone. Jonah Heim got him over to third. But alas, even with the pinch hitter, Sam Haggerty, they could not get that run home off of Saalfrank, who got the Diamondbacks 2 extra innings. But a couple of curveballs that were just middle. I mean, some really very hittable pitches for Jake Burger. He fouled it off. He was down 0-2 pretty much immediately in this game. And then a hanging curveball right down the middle of the plate that looked like it was about to go foul and then ended up staying fair. A great walk-off hit by Jake Burger, the big boy Burger. Just an incredible team win. Team first at bats. He was not trying to hit a home run, although he pretty much could have. I appreciate him just staying through the baseball, staying on it, keeping that ball fair in a non-walk-off situation. That's probably almost certainly a 2 RBI double. But all that matters is getting the win. All that matters right now is stacking these wins on wins on wins. And Rowdy Tellez is helping the Rangers do that. He's played in only 16 games for the Rangers so far this year, but he's hitting .297 with a .325 OBP and an .866 OPS. He has got 8 RBIs in 16 games so far this season. Now, RBIs are not the most important stat, but they're just kind of telling of just a little bit of production. And what's kind of wild is that in these 16 games, he has as many RBIs as Leody Taveras had all season long in just 16 games. And he's only one shy of what Jock Peterson has on the year in 60 games. He has 4 homers and 9 RBIs. Just kind of wild. But the OBP is there for Jock Peterson. In his last 30 games, he's got an OBP of around, I think, 380, which is literally half his season. So the Jock train is definitely moving in the right direction, but it's another guy who plays just first base and just hits righties or DHs. And that's 2 roster spots on these guys. And if Peterson and Rowdy Tellez can keep doing this, the Rangers will have a difficult decision to make in terms of roster spots whenever Evan Carter comes back. We'll talk about that and a tough day from their ace being picked up, why the Rangers needed that motivation, and more right after this. This show is brought to you by Gameday Hue, and so is the hat that I'm wearing. For Rangers fans like me, this one hits the mark. Gameday Hue makes clean, no logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. It's all about letting your colors speak for you. No giant logos, just smart, versatile style that works on game day, on the course, or anywhere in between. If your team, you wanted to rock their colors and they're kind of embarrassing you and you don't want that big old logo like occasionally the Rangers have been this year, this is the kind of hat you can rock anywhere, on the golf course, on cookouts, barbecues, around the neighborhood, wherever. It's not just hats. They've also got these split shade gloves that are made for the golf course. They're the perfect gift for the fan who has everything. So right now you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GamedayHue.com. That's GamedayHue.com. This code even stacks on bundle deals, so now's the perfect time to load up. Let your colors talk, because colors speak louder than words. That's GamedayHue.com, code MLB15. Shout out to the editors for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. After every single game, the Locked On Rangers postcast is in your feeds, hosted by the incredible Jeff Biggs, coming to you live, reacting after all 162 games. That was a fun one for Jeff last night in your Locked On Rangers podcast feeds on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Now, the Rangers offense was really able to pick Nathan Eovaldi up after his worst start of the year. And I say worst, it is by far his worst start of the year, because there haven't been very many bad starts for Nathan Eovaldi this year. There's actually been, I'd say, none. It depending on your definition of a bad start. The worst start that he's had so far this year, before this, was at the Chicago Cubs on April 7th. He failed to make it through 5 innings. He gave up 3 runs in 4 2/3 innings, struck out 4, walked 2, and hit 2 batters as well, but didn't give up a homer in that one. And that was immediately after a complete game shutout against the Cincinnati Reds. So, I mean, this guy has just been so darn good. That start that I'm talking about there, that's the only time that he has given up more than 2 earned runs in a start before tonight. He gave up 2 earned runs against Boston. Heck, most of his starts, it's been 1 or 0 earned runs. In 13 of his last 14 starts, it had been 1 or 0 earned runs. The only one that he didn't was that start that he got hurt against Seattle. He lasted just 3 innings in that game and just got absolutely wrecked in that game. Actually, no, that was not the game. That was the first game back from being off the IL, where he only pitched 3 innings of work and gave up 3 runs in a game that the Rangers, I believe they ended up losing that game as well, because it's a game against Seattle. So that's honestly a fair assumption to make. But 13 out of 14 starts where he allowed 1 or 0 earned runs. And the only games where he's allowed more than 2 earned runs were, that game against Chicago, that game I just mentioned, and this one. That's it. That is the end of the list for Nathan Eovaldi this year. That is absolutely insane. In 20 games, he has had 3 starts where he has allowed more than 2 earned runs. That's absolutely unbelievable levels of dominance from a guy who has never shown this level of dominance for this sustained of a stretch. Now, I don't think that Nathan Eovaldi is about to fall off a cliff by any means, but this is a tough game for him. I mean, only 3 strikeouts in this one. And what's really frustrating is a couple of those homers, had he not given those up, I mean, the Rangers, this has been a completely different ball game, but a couple of them were just middle, just absolute meatballs, which is not like Nathan Eovaldi. He had a couple other ones where he just, a couple other pitches down the middle that he kind of got away with because he was, reading swings and stuff. But I mean, the one to Geraldo Perdomo, like a 4-seam fastball at 93, right down the middle of the zone. I mean, in a 2-1 count, where the first pitch of the at-bat was was a cutter in that exact spot. But it's just not going to get the job done. And one of those homers that he gave up to make it 5-0 or 3-0 at that point was just honestly an incredible bit of hitting by one of the best hitters in baseball, in Corbin Carroll. This was a 4-seam fastball, 93.5 miles an hour, probably 3-4 inches above the zone and over the inner part of the plate. Not a pitch where almost anybody can hit it for a home run. And he just tomahawks that thing into right field for a 2-run bomb, making it a 3-0 game at that point. And then it seemed like he kind of got in his head. I mean, he hit Ketel Marte with a pitch the very next batter and then gave up another 2-run homer to make it 5-0. Settled down and made it through 5 innings because that's what aces do. Even when they're having bad days, they find ways to get outs. I mean, he gave up those 5 runs in the span of, 4 of those 5 runs in the span of 4 batters. That is a tough way to get absolutely lit up. But he made it through 5 innings. He did. He was able to just keep his team in the ball game at 86 pitches. I mean, if he was pitching better and he hadn't given up all those runs, maybe he could have gotten through a 6th inning. Rangers toss it over to the bullpen and John Gray in a clear mop-up situation, and Gray gives up another run after the Rangers had clawed one back, and it's 6-1 at that point. And it felt like, okay, well, this is going to be John Gray the rest of the way. Let's see if we can get John Gray some work. Gray hadn't pitched in several games and overall had been mostly solid this year. And then with that 3-run homer, Bruce Bochy said, I am managing this like it is Game 7 of the World Series. We absolutely need to win this game. We're going to everybody in this pen who is trusted in high leverage spots. Danny Coulomb immediately right out of there. Keep it a 1-run game. Sean Armstrong comes in, allows a hit, but it strikes out a couple of batters. Another shutout inning. Hobie Milner comes on. He works a shutout inning, keeps the Rangers in it. And then in extra innings, who else but Phil freaking Maton with his 2.28 ERA coming in, shutting the door down, allowing the Rangers to walk it off in the bottom of the 10th inning. And this is the kind of game that rallies a team together. I mean, if the Rangers lost this game, it'd be pretty easy to say, hey, this one's on Evo. None of them before this had been on Evo at any point in the season. Evo had very much helped the Rangers win a lot of games that they should not have won with even just a pretty good starting pitcher on the mound. Evo has been absolutely phenomenal. And I think that's kind of what led to this offensive uptick. I mean, the Rangers just knew they needed to dig down and score some runs for Nathan Eovaldi. Because with your ace on the hill, a lot of times he is picking you up on days when you are not at your best. And when he has an off day, it can be something to kind of rally that whole entire team together of like, oh, okay, Evo's picked us up through so much. There are so many games where we played like absolute crap, and Nathan Eovaldi being on the hill saved our butts. So we need to return the favor. We need to rally together as an offense and make sure that Nathan Eovaldi does not get charged with the L in this one, and that we just straight up don't lose this game. I mean, Evo has got to feel pretty terrible about, that 4-batter stretch. It was just a really, really tough stretch for him. And still finds a way to go 5 innings, limit the damage, and make it through, 3 more innings at that point. I think he gave up all 4 of those runs without a single out in that inning. Not a single out, double, homer, hit by pitch, homer, and then is able to get through, even works himself into a little bit more trouble. I mean, hitting Adrian Del Castillo later in that inning, Tyler Locklear, who homered earlier, single on the ball to right field, and you had runners at first and third with 1 out. And then he strikes out Alec Thomas and gets Blaze Alexander to ground out and just grinds through 2 more innings at that point to kind of save this pen as much as he could at that point. And the offense just finding a way to rally together and save this one because they absolutely needed to. And they need to win the next one and the next one and probably the next several. I mean, I'm not saying they need to rattle off another, win 8 out of 9 games, but I'm not saying that they need to. Because, I mean, at this point, this is a team that is still, they are not by any means in it in the AL West. They could have been. They very much could have been. But the Mariners have gone 9-1 in their last 10 games, with the only one being that loss to the Rangers in extra innings on Saturday in Seattle. The Mariners have just been absolutely on fire. The Astros have been pretty mediocre the last couple of games, or the last 10 games or so, and the Rangers haven't been able to gain ground. Same with the Yankees. The Yankees have been in a tailspin, and they are still holding on to that playoff spot. The Rangers have now gained 1 game of ground on the Yankees in the last 10, because the Rangers are 4-6 in their last 10. Yankees are 3-7, and the Rangers are still 2.5 games back of that final wild card spot, and they're 4 games back of the second wild card spot. Maybe the Rangers could end up getting there and passing the Boston Red Sox and the Yankees, but they've also got to pass the Cleveland Guardians, who have really weirdly been on an absolute tear as of late. They're 8-2 in their last 10, and they still have a negative 19 run differential. Make that make sense. I can't. It does not make any sense. But this team picking them up, such a great game from everybody outside of John Gray in this bullpen to step up and keep this thing close, keep the Rangers in it, to let them claw back and get enough runs to get this absolutely massively needed win. But it's powered by these big boys in Jake Burger, in Rowdy Tellez. And I don't know exactly what the Rangers are going to do with their offense, with their roster, whatever they get Evan Carter back. I mean, he swung a bat on Monday, took some live BP. I haven't heard exactly how he's feeling after all of that, but a rehab assignment is probably on the way here soon, maybe this weekend. We end up seeing him back in a Rangers uniform. Maybe it's next week that we see Evan Carter back on the field for the Rangers. But you look at 1 through 13 in the Rangers roster in terms of hitters, everybody on this roster, outside of Jonah Heim, who's just really going through it right now, everybody on this offense is doing stuff. Sam Haggerty fills a very important role. Josh Smith fills an incredibly important role. No way he's going anywhere. Jock Peterson has kind of started to turn it around as of late. Heck, even Zeke Duran in the last couple of games, he has been on fire against left-handed pitching. And he's probably going to be the odd man out because I don't see the Rangers just straight up cutting bait with Sam Haggerty. I don't think the Rangers can just straight up option him. With Rowdy Tellez, initially that seemed like the obvious just cut bait candidate, but he's got an OPS north of 850. He has driven in so many clutch runs. He has hit the ball incredibly hard and hit the ball over the fence, something the Rangers are not doing a whole lot of this year, and especially against right-handed pitching. And he's playing at okay first base. It's not great, but it's not terrible by any means. The Rangers are going pretty platoon heavy at this point, and I think they will probably continue to do so at this point. We'll see. They might end up going with a straight up platoon against right-handed pitchers. They might end up going, Evan in center field, Wyatt in left, Adolis in right, and then Josh Smith at third base, DHing Jock Peterson, and then Rowdy Tellez at first base. And then you can kind of mix and match if the opposing team wants to go with a lefty out of the pen. You've got a lot of right-handed bats who can hit lefties very, very well on your bench, in Josh Young, in Sam Haggerty, in Jake Burger at that point. And then against left-handed pitching, you go with Jake Burger at first base. You go with Sam Haggerty in left field, and then maybe Josh Smith is DHing. I'm not entirely sure exactly what it looks like, but it seems like Zeke Duran would probably be the odd man out at that point, which is a shame because he has been doing so well, and he does provide so much defensive value and versatility and base running versatility and just value there that some of these other guys don't provide. It kind of hamstrings you a little bit when you've got, three guys that just play one position on your roster: Jock Peterson, Rowdy Tellez, Jake Burger. Now, Burger has played third base. I don't recommend that being a solution that the Rangers employ a lot, if at all. And then you have Josh Smith as this super duper utility player. You have Sam Haggerty as a pretty super utility player. I mean, having Zeke Duran, I know what he's been offensively, but having what he provides defensively when you have so many guys who have just one or zero positions, it is important. It is necessary. It is a tool in the Rangers' tool chest that Bruce Bochy will and does employ frequently. And it is why the Rangers are set up to have this level of success. I mean, with a manager who knows how to manage these games of these double position swaps and all kinds of different stuff of being a National League manager for so darn long, you need every single one of those roster spots. And honestly, they kind of need roster to expand right now so they can kind of, mishmatch and hodgepodge things as best they can. It's probably Zeke Duran that ends up being the casualty when Evan Carter comes back, but it's a good problem to have when you pick up Rowdy Tellez kind of off the scrap heap and he provides this kind of value, that kind of a swing, because there's already been 3 games where Rowdy Tellez has been the difference for the Texas Rangers. And if not for him, I worry to think where this team might be without their big, beefy boys. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.